In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion she sleeps tonight.
But I do have a thing that came out that I saw today. I wanted to get your guys' opinion. So what happened was this company called Valve. It's a gaming company, and they made Counter-Strike, which is one of the biggest like online games. It's EA. It's like a what's an esport? It's one of the biggest. They came out with a game. I don't know how long ago, but they had to take it off. It was news everywhere. It was like the news article I was reading from 20 hours ago, and that was, so they said it was a day ago. And what they did was they came out with a game called something shooter. I can't remember the first word. And what the game is that you pick a side, and it's within a school. And the whole point is that you are pretty much a kids like, or a group taking over the hostages of the school, and you the police that's the online game.
So you either the people taking people hostage, or
but the point is, no, it's a school shootout game.
So
the
you
point
either
is
people
that you
killing children, or you want to kill the hostage.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and people had a complete outbreak of it because they were like, this is an actual thing that happened, it's serious, whatever, and people went mad, and Valve took the game down. Now my question.
It is quite a hectic thing to make.
That's
what
but also war with Call of Duty. How do you justify that?
No, you don't. I mean, I'm just saying for people in like today's
because
world.
You can relate to school children.
Yeah.
What about these kids who are getting killed? Like
no, because people are just unaware. People are naive.
It's what he was saying about the whole thing, where it's like because you keep your dog safe, you wouldn't kill your dog, but you kill the animal because you know less about it.
No, you 100%. Okay, get your point.
So what I'm trying to my whole argument is what I'm going to bring forth to you guys now is the fact that. Is it as serious as they say? Because another argument that they were having is that it's going to make kids feel some type of way that this is how they should be doing things. They're going to be exposed to it. Do you think that that's the case, or can we still differentiate in society the difference between a game and real life? Because that was one of their arguments, and I'll put that out there. And then
it's a very difficult question because we've been exposed from young age to violent movies. We've been exposed to
and people are living in games. So like I don't know, people literally live their lives to game.
Yeah. What if you
That's
could
their
bring
life.
forth the idea of we're in a simulation? Then
That's what so I mean, it comes back to that.
See, but I agree with what you just said now is that just because so they have a problem with the school one, and that's because that was in America that the problem. If that game came out here, no one was going to complain, because in America
it's a big issue.
It's a big issue. They cancel it, but now. Valve, who lets Counter-Strike, what Counter-Strike is, which I actually play, you choose to be a terrorist or counter-terrorist, and that's fine. You literally walk around, and that game's been out since 2003. It's just they just keep upgrading the graphics every year. So what it is that should we always just lean towards what America cries about, or should there be a global, which I think is fair, is that we should have a global standard for certain things. So just because America is okay with and if you see how it is, it's actually Counter-Strike is the counter-terrorists are in like the Reich here, the American, and then even the opposing guns. The opposing guns is AK-47s.
Is what you know. The terrorists.
Yeah, AK-47, and they have masks. They have like beanies. They're just wearing like just normal type of like raggy clothes that you would see a terrorist wearing. What's that hinting?
It's the classic.
It's hinting that America's a good guy.
It's a classic American soldier movie. Like the Chris Kyle movie.
Dude, every single James Bond or every single bad...
What is it?
It's always a Russian.
Russian propaganda.
It's so Russian. The bad guy's always Russian.
Literally.
And
fact.
Yeah,
you know what's really blowing my mind these days, bro, and I've been watching all of this like unfold, is the third wave feminist, bro. It still doesn't...
Explain that?
So the third wave feminist, there was two stages of feminism. The first stage of feminism was getting equality, like voting, just the normal things, right?
Okay, that was the first phase, okay.
The second phase was just a kind of, let's call it, I could be up for correction. The second phase I'm a bit foggy on, but...
Okay. But I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, the second one, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was the recap of the first feminism, just to try to get equality and whatever.
47 minutes.
Now, this third wave feminism came about, and this is now, what it's brought with it is, have you guys heard of like this whole... SJW, social justice warriors, and that also.
Wait, so what's the second phase?
If I'm not mistaken, the second phase was just a recap of the first phase, just brought up again to solve the same issues that
Like more like corporate jobs.
yeah,
and
more
that
like
sort
jobs,
of vibe.
reasonable things.
Okay.
And now, like, it's gotten to the point where
It's anti-male.
it's anti-male, and it's gotten now to the point where they're actually, which I'm finding beautiful to watch from an outsider, is that it's actually getting to the point where feminism, because it branched out so quickly and tried to deal with everyone's issues, it's closing in on itself. Because now, so there was last year was the first women's march. I don't know what it was, the feminist march, and they would wear
Like
these
pink march.
they'd wear these beanies, pink beanies called they call them pussy hats. That's what the actual
I
term was.
remember that.
And now this year, what happened was within the feminism there was like a group of
anti-feminist.
not
feminist.
anti they were within it saying that not all vaginas are pink, so that's actually keeping people out of the group. So it was feminists of race of
It
different
became
racial
like a
colours
sexual racial.
were like
Oh
it's
my
darker
God.
chocolate, purple vagina.
so and that's a recent thing that's happening. So now they were saying like
People always find something to fight about.
yeah, and
Oh
that's what
my
the one guy, I
God.
forgot his name, he said it, and it's one of like he said on live TV, he said, what did he say? I'm like paraphrasing, but he's kind of said something like it's just another day and another word, but there's always something that will offend a feminist. He said it a lot better, and it's true,
What do you
because
think is triggering these people's minds though to constantly want to fight for something that?
It's insecurity. Something like.
But do you think that's breeding on the culture that, for example, shooting games or the American pro
No.
war?
I
Do you
think it's
those things?
insecurities, and it's the moment they got a chance.
Does it not give you does
I-
that background not give you an illogical way of thinking growing up, because you
100%.
constantly bombarded with all these different ideas that you forget what reality is and what we actually here for.
And not only that, with all of this, you know what the biggest problem that's coming out of the feminist movement is the whole thing of, it's the argument of, what's the word again? Where now what is that they want everyone's feeling like, it's infringing on a lot of, they're trying to infringe on free speech, in other words. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that the feminists, because now what they're doing, it's gone so, I don't even know what to call it, so delusional that now they want to be called as a different pronoun. So I can right now turn around and say, first of all, the craziest, which is ridiculous, I can go and say I'm a woman,
Yeah.
as is now.
There was this one
And
reporter.
you can't tell me otherwise, and they're trying to make it where I can arrest you. And not only that, now they're trying to add things where I'm neither. And now the pronoun you must call me, and these are actual things. I want you to call me as a yo, not a he or she, a yo. And you have to, so now you have to go, and you can make one up. You can decide you want to be
This
called.
is the left. This is the left.
the liberals, yeah.
And Democrats.
I never understood the difference between left and right.
No, the left are fucking retarded. Jeez.
Why? What's their agenda?
The
They're
left-
supposed to be liberty and freedom and everyone equality, but they've gone so far wrong.
See what the left's doing now is that they're putting votes above what's good for a country. That's what the problem is now. So they're doing anything possible to get as many people on their side.
And
they just
everything
take.
offends everyone.
Yeah.
You can't say anything that offends. There was this chick on the news presenter that was saying how, or speaking to some woman who was saying how anything that offends anyone else should be illegal. If you and the guy's like, and the person that was interviewing her was like, but I could say your jacket is red, and you could say you're offended, and then you must ban the word
Yeah.
red. And she's like, well, if somebody brings up a valid point about a red being an offensive word, then
I honestly think it's people who are losing touch with reality. They don't know what their morals are. They don't understand what to think. If you're like 8 years old, you're getting a cell phone, you're already exposed to social media and all these people posting about things that aren't really true in their lives, false identities. You're not going to have a true understanding of what people are and what they stand
See,
for.
I have two
So that
views
builds
on
up
this.
to become more
I have a
insecure.
more, call it, basic thing where I pick a side, where I think that Trump and them are doing it right. But I think the reason all of this is happening,
you support Trump.
I don't directly support Trump, but at the same, I don't pick any side. My reasoning for that is like right now I wouldn't vote, and people don't like that or do. That's a concept that I got from Russell Brand. He says that he won't vote, and because he's got no one to vote for, so he's not going to vote just because. He says, when you give me someone to vote for, I will vote. And he's encouraging people not to vote for these people just because to have an option. And that's what I stand.
He had an argument though with that British.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Farage.
Nigel Farage.
And Farage kind of won the argument.
He won.
I'm a very big fan of Russell Brand, but
He did.
won the argument.
Now this is where Russell Brand's argument wouldn't win, and the argument that I actually agree with him on wouldn't win within the constructs of of capitalism right now.
And that's how we live.
And that's how we live. But you see, now you are asking why this is all happening, and what I believe is because we are within a system that does not see, as a human being, as a species, we have certain needs that we are social species. You know, at the end of the day, everything we're doing is so against our nature. The fact that it's like, I was even thinking about it now that I work, you work, you know, I see it happening. Days are becoming blurs.
Yeah,
you look and you're like, oh, it's already 6 months into the year. And that's what I think is causing, because we living within a system that only caters to the ones that have done exceptionally well. And yes, fair enough, you'll tell me the argument is then people work hard for what they get. Agreed. But
definition of hard.
Not only that's
smart.
Within society, what's counted as being successful is money, cars, houses, all that stuff. That's the only measurement of success we have in a lot of ways. Even if you tell me athletes, what do athletes get compensated with? Money. Yeah. So money is our
pushing the brands that they want to be out.
Yeah, and that's my thing, is that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, money kept people quiet for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, people are realizing that, what am I doing? I'm spending 40 years of my life. Even you guys, I mean, look at the time you were studying until now. You know, people are seeing this. They're thinking, why? Why am I doing this? Because a group of people somewhat years ago thought this was the right way, and now...
You see, going back to your social argument, I think the Mediterranean people, I mean, most cultures have it very well, where the main focus of your day is to spend time with family and friends, over dinner or lunch, over a meal. And that's, I think, what most of our lives should be surrounded
100%.
by. Because we're social creatures, and we want to be...
I guess that's
what
everyone's depressed today.
Because we don't spend enough time with people. It's most of the time you're in your own space. A lot of the time you spend time with people you don't really enjoy. At work, for example, you're in your own bubble. Whereas if, for example, you on a constant basis, you work for 2 hours and you go and see a whole group of mates. You eat together, you see each other, you go back to work, or you even work together. You have a different dynamic.
See, I just think that there needs to be... See, because you know what the whole point of the Industrial Revolution was, at least from my understanding and what I've seen?
Distribute the wealth.
Not only that, but to get to the point. The point was to work to the point where technology can take over all those positions and everyone can have everything doing nothing. That was the point. The point was not for us to be in a continuous rut of continuous work. It was to get technology to the point where it can self-sustain for us, because that's the logical way to do it.
There comes the matrix.
It's not even really that the matrix. The problem comes
you
in
can't
that
have systems running without someone supervising them.
But you can, that's AI. Have you seen what AI
is? If you have technology running by itself, you're not supervising it. How you know it's doing what it's supposed to be doing?
You know, at the end of the day, even without AI, you can. If you have a system, see, without technology being as it is, you now, for example, how you could ask me housing. I've seen, and this was a while ago already, 3 years ago, with 3D printing. And I could be wrong on the numbers, but it was something ridiculous. They have 3D printers, huge ones, that can print 1,000 houses in 24 hours, or something ridiculous like that. It's so you know how with a 3D printer.
I don't think one day. I'm trying to think about, because it's plastic molding and stuff. I don't know. Could be wrong.
I don't think nowadays you don't have to use any now they can 3D print organs by using different. You don't only have to use the initial plastic or whatever they used initially. Now they're figuring out ways to use different materials to build, to 3D print. Now they can 3D print organs and stuff, which is a thing as well.
I've seen they do with the cow heart.
Yeah, and
pig heart. Yeah,
and now I'm saying here, it's already getting to the point where we can go as. Have you guys ever seen the movies Zeitgeist, or I might be pronouncing it wrong?
Zeitgeist. I think it's a bit of propaganda.
Zeitgeist.
Complete propaganda.
Not all.
What?
But I'd say there's possible.
I think there's so much truth to that.
Lots of truth to it.
I
That's
think
I'm in the middle.
That's
There's
religion.
lots of truth, but there's also a lot of stuff that they just add for
But it's
film.
religion,
the
9/11,
thing is,
and
the religion one was.
And there's more than one.
I did a bit more research.
yeah, the religion, 9/11, and the World Bank.
The World Trade. Oh yeah, the finance. I agree. 9/11, obviously.
Did you watch the financial one?
It was all in one, wasn't it?
There was the finance. Do you remember what happened at the end? Okay, well, there was at the end of the one. I think it was the financial one where they came forth with what I'm talking about now, and they described it a lot better, and they actually showed how in every way it's very possible.
Not possible, they showed facts.
That what?
Timeline.
No,
What's the
you know what I'm saying? That we can all be in a system where it's self.
Oh no, I agree 100%.
It can be done
It
now.
is, dude. I mean, why are you doing what you're doing?
But what do you think is propaganda from that
The,
film?
the religion parts, I'm a bit skeptical.
But what about it?
They linked it all to one pagan god that God looked at it different, in different points of view.
The Egyptian way, looking at the sun.
No, there was the one pagan god they said that was born on the 25th of December, and everyone else looked at it differently. They basically brought all the religions to one god, everyone looked at it differently.
Yeah.
At the same time, I disagree with that.
No, but if you look back, it was about the sun. It was literally about the constellation.
Yeah, I did some research, and some of the things they were saying, it wasn't completely true. They linked it together to make it look like everything fit
Maybe.
together, but
I was quite sold on all.
yeah,
all
that's the
aspects.
idea behind that propaganda. They do it to make you seem like, oh wow, everything links
Maybe.
together, everything makes sense. I just think
I
it's
still-
propaganda, because when I was in that conspiracy lifestyle where I wanted to believe everything was wrong and like, everything was against me, those are things I believed and I wanted to believe. But I did a bit more research, and a lot of it was a bit skeptical with what they brought up.
See, I've my new mindset, which, well, not new, it's just a continuous one. There is no right and wrong. There is. And why, now what I believe,
But we just spoke about why vegans right.
what, no,
Well,
but I'm saying, if you look at it like, as in, okay, so it's not, even smoking cigarettes, it's not right or wrong, it just is. But what it does to you and what it does to your life is also, so if you get sick, if you want to eat and be unhealthy, you can. What the outcome of that is also, it's not a bad or a good, it just is.
Yeah.
And if that's the outcome you choose it to be, by all means. No one should say,
But then how can we say that
who's to
meat
say-
is wrong though then, based on that argument?
it's to
I'm not
say
trying to
that-
like prove I'm
no,
just
no,
saying.
I know, it's just to
like,
say,
like I was saying the Buddhism principle, yin and yang, everything is right, everything is wrong, it's just how you choose
no,
to live.
I don't believe there is any wrong or right. There just is a
Yeah.
situation. And why I say that is because any situation is a situation until we put a label on it.
Agreed.
It's just a situation.
And a
So-
murder.
Pardon?
And a
A
murder.
murder
But
is
then
a
what-
murder.
but if it's self-defense,
You see,
it's
it
still murder.
But if it's not,
doesn't matter. You see, that's the thing. You see, my point is this: is that
there is right and wrong there.
no, I don't think so.
It's based on your moral
I
compass.
think you're looking at it wrong. There is a right and wrong,
If you found out
but
that this one
there
person,
isn't a bad and a good.
Goes
Say
hand
that
in
again.
hand.
Say
No.
that again.
So look, say you got kicked out of varsity, you got expelled. At that moment, you're like, that's terrible. Meanwhile, you don't know that that's terrible. Now, by getting kicked out of varsity, you end up going to Cape Town when you wouldn't have. You would have been studying here in Joburg. Now, in Cape Town, you find somebody who needs needs your
Handiwork in the
skill.
house.
Yeah, handy worker. So you're working toilets, maybe cleaning his toilet. And then all of a sudden you build this bond with this oak, and this oak dies and you're in his will. So that wouldn't happen. So you don't know. Anything that happens in your life, you can put a label on it saying, shit, this happened, or great, this happened, I won this. Meanwhile, Avicii's life went well in terms of success. Every achievement would be, oh shit, that's so sick, oh that's so good, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, it led him to killing himself.
Yeah.
See, but this is the thing.
So you don't know what I'm saying is you
Before
don't know
Yeah.
when something's happening, whether it's good or bad.
The thing,
It just is,
the
as
Vici
you say.
argument.
But right and see, this is the thing. Okay, what I mean by right and wrong. If I got up and punched him right now, that you would perceive that as being wrong.
Yeah.
But in actuality, it's me punching him, and then you putting based on the life you've lived and the perception you have at this given moment, you've given that a label. That's just a punch.
But it depends on your
It's-
reason though.
But it's just a punch, regardless of, even if I drop this phone on the screen and it cracks, okay, the common reaction would be, that's a bad thing. But this phone fell and the glass cracked. Then we decided what that is. Is that bad or is it good?
But
Or
is
is
it
it
up to
right or is it
individual
wrong? And
choice
it is-
then?
Pardon?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That even ones that are that we look at and say, like for example, something as crazy as rape. I don't agree with rape in any way. I don't. But at the same time, like, who is any one person to decide
You see, the
on
thing
the
is,
basis of
I understand what you're saying, Sweet.
Mm.
But the issue with rape is, I feel like you have to have a mental illness to
No,
rape
100%.
someone.
I'm not.
But he's not saying it's bad or good, he's saying it is.
It is.
But
That's
I
my
don't
thing.
know.
But you can screw up someone's life forever, dude.
You see, but it goes back. You see how it goes back to
I
the.
think it's a touchy one, specifically rape. It's a bit difficult because
I say with any given thing. That's
Bro,
just
like-
my 2 cents on it. Like.
valid. You have the right to your opinion. I just think, like, I don't want to go into stuff. There's just with Avicii's situation, right? Like, someone brought this argument to me that he had achieved everything he wanted at such a young age. What more could he achieve?
No, but
No,
watch his
sorry,
documentary.
that is
That is
an
a
actual
thing. That is
a
completely a thing.
That is a
I
thing.
mean, you living your whole life for this one thing, and you get
play
it so
ultra,
early,
you
and
play
then
tomorrow, and what
and then
more?
you
No,
You-
I know there's a form of suicide. I forgot the actual term, but it's a form of suicide where people kill themselves as because they feel like there's nothing else to do, and that's
To
just
achieve.
something to do
Mm.
that they can achieve that next thing. But what I mean by, you see, that's why I go back, like why I say the whole, sorry to go back to the whole right, why I say there's no right and wrong, is because, like, at the end of the day, as soon as you perceive something, now it's happened here, this happened there, right? Anything out of that moment, so let's just say you'll say to me, but now if someone punched you in the face, wouldn't you react, or would you just leave because it just is? In that moment, I'd react a certain way. Anything that happens after the first, like, instinctual moments is a choice, and that choice was based on your perception on any given situation and all the things that you have. Like, for example, why I say there's no right and wrong, it just is things happening. In the same way that it's, okay, well, I guess this goes back to my core thing of what I believe, God or not. I believe this is what it is. There was an initial thing, whatever that may be. If that was the Big Bang, if that was God.
We're talking about creation.
Creation.
Okay.
But I'll explain why I get to here and why I say there's no right and wrong. So let's just say that, so if I go and if I take paint that's in a thing, I take a white canvas and I pour it from there, right? It's going to go and do its own thing. But it's just a continuation of one thing that's happening. That paint's getting to the bottom. And that's it. Whatever that one thing happened, we all come from that one thing. And that is something happening, and we are just playing a role within that.
I don't know what's
And everything, I came to this through all the things I've learned. And everything that's happened is just, if you had to take it and look at it from
Can we
here,
see
with
if
a
like-
stop motion. No,
Yeah.
if I took everything from that point of existence, right, and I looked at it and I put it in a time lapse of 2 minutes, you see that it's just one event continually happening.
I agree.
And that's we all part of one event.
Yeah.
And in that event, things are going to go somewhere.
Bro, I
But
agree
we
with you
just fill in
100%.
the space. That's what
100%
happens.
agree with you. From an external point of view, from looking from the outside, that's 100% correct. But we can't stop the fact that we live our own lives. So our own days are affected by other situations that are happening.
But you can affect your perception 100%.
If I had to take a knife right down, chop off your arm,
That'd be so.
your life is going to be affected. Your life is going to be affected for the rest of because of something selfish and mentally incorrect for me to do.
Okay, but now.
So from what point of view do you say there's no right and wrong? Because in our little world,
That's
There
that's the
No.
thing.
there is. From the person that may be
I
watching
disagree.
all
From
the
the
planets
external-
and all the galaxies, from if there is something watching, obviously there is no right and wrong
Yeah.
in terms of what we do on this little piece of speck. But in our world there is.
Your principles are
I
100%
don't.
correct, dude. From a big point of view, the thing is like, you are correct. I'm
But
not saying
now,
wrong.
but now ask you what makes you believe, because it's only a belief that you
Yeah.
have, that makes you believe that your perception needs to be of one level. Why do you feel that you can't live a life where you try to perceive everything from a higher place? Because if you think about it, we are spiritual beings living a human experience, not the other way around. And at the end of the day, my body isn't me. My name is not me. Dino is just 4 letters that we use to get
But
to.
you live by that, though.
But goes now even deeper, is to say that the soul, whatever people call it,
Yeah.
you learn to see. That's what I believe that I've gotten to through meditation, all that stuff. Is that I no longer view my thoughts as me. My thoughts are the same way as if I'm in a, put it this way, this is how I see it. If you're in a car and you're driving that car, you are not the car. The same way that our soul, the real true us, is not our body, it's driving our body. And like why I say that thoughts are not me is because the problem is that we've now come to believe that that little voice in our mind is us, and it's not. Because, you know, at the end of the day,
What do you think that voice is then?
no, that voice, it's a tool. That's all I believe it is. The same way that my hand,
Your moral compass telling you right and wrong.
but there is no, see, there's no moral compass telling me is right
And
and
what
wrong.
drives you then?
What, see, that's the thing. The same way that the car is just a car until I get in it and I drive it. My body is just a body until something gets in and makes use of
But
it.
you
And
can't
that's
just
that.
be traveling straight all the time. When it comes to T-junction, you have to choose left or right.
You have to choose left or right, but
Right
it's the
or
same
wrong.
thing. It's not, the car is just turning. It's me picking that option. Whether the
That's
car,
a right
see
or
the
wrong
car,
decision.
no,
Though.
the car does, but the car. You see, this is the thing. I don't believe there's a right or wrong, but in that scenario, in the scenario we're having, do you see how that car wouldn't be making any decisions, just doing something?
But based on
and-
you, the driver.
Yeah.
Based
You're talking about the driver.
Yeah,
You're
but
talking
now,
about your body
so
actually doing its own thing.
yeah, but my soul is giving me the means to make use of all the tools that I have, which include my mind, which include my thoughts, which include my fingers and hands. That's why it's not like I sit here and I do this.
Why have you not
I-
killed someone?
Why have I killed someone? Because I don't feel the need to kill someone.
Because?
Anyway.
You think it's wrong.
I don't think it's wrong. I just don't want to do the
It
same
would
way
be
that
like
why am I
you.
sitting here? Because I want to be sitting. I'm not going to go do something just to say, you know, I'm going to do what I want to do.
I think that there's
And if that is one day, including me killing someone, that's
Bro,
what
I
it
think
is.
on a general
That-
scale, there's no right and wrong. Like there's no right and wrong. The examples Jason gave, the examples you gave are correct, but there's certain moral things that you can't do that are against your nature unless you're mentally ill.
But you can't say that though. See, the argument comes down to what makes any. See, because
How can you affect someone else's life based on your selfish train of thought?
But that's the thing. At the end of the day, to believe that you aren't affecting someone's life, regardless of the thought that you, or as
We're
to believe that you're only affecting someone's life when you feel you're affecting someone's life is also ridiculous to think. You must realize that you, by doing something that you think is completely the correct thing, will affect thousands of people in a negative way. Regardless. So that's what I mean. There's no bad and good. You just got to do what you got to do in this experience as a human being.
Okay, but
And to go and try and live by bounds of what is good and bad based on what no one knows. It's just something we've all decided.
might also be just societal
Two
regulations.
ways,
or-
You know, I'm not
Yeah.
like I'm not like that. You see,
I
that
see what you're
thought,
saying.
that realization didn't mean that I ran into the streets and started stabbing people.
Yeah.
If anything, it made me the most peace I've ever been because I realized that, you know, I'm part of this experience. Everything is the experience. There's no bad and good. Everything is happening as one. I'm not separate from you. I'm not separate from this table. I'm not separate from the earth. I'm not separate from the guy being stabbed. I'm not separate from the guy doing the stabbing. We all just one being thing. The same when you watch a movie, it's not individual. It's one movie. It's the beginning and end. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. You can choose to look at a movie from a beginning to an end, where it's one.
So is time linear?
I wouldn't be able. I can't give that answer. I don't know. I'm not going to try and give you that answer. But the thing is, whether I knew that or not, would it change anything? You know what I'm saying?
It would.
Why? In your individual.
It probably wouldn't, just because. But if I really believe it, that it was simultaneous and not linear, if I really believe that, like with my gut, probably would.
Things are predestined, or you can
Yeah.
make your
Well,
own day.
it must be predestined if it's happening at the same time. If everything is if everything is not, if myself being now and doing something now is not going to affect my older self, because that's not in the future and this isn't the now. They're all at the same time, which is what they say simultaneous time could be. Then I'm not affecting my future, because it really
It's
is.
really predestined. That's the idea of
Yeah,
free
so it
will.
would affect. I wouldn't go study.
Yeah. But what if you're always gonna never do that? What if you're always
It
gonna
could have
never
been,
do it?
but it probably wouldn't have been. It could have been. You're right, but
I think it's scary to think that we don't have free will, that everything's predestined. It's really scary.
I don't. You see, either way that argument went, right? My answer to the thing is that I see it that same way. I just see it like, I imagine like a little dot, and whatever that little, let's say it was an explosion, or that's the God, whatever you want to call that to me doesn't matter. What matters to me is that happened, and it's that thing's experience that we are all living within, and we are trying, and that's things that we as human
but we see
beings.
it from our perspective, though. We don't see it from the bigger perspective.
But it's, see, that's the thing. It doesn't matter how you're seeing it. It's the point is that how you feel. Do you feel and you realize that it's just knowing. It's not about seeing it. Not everything needs to be seen to be understood. It's about understanding it for yourself. To say that everything is just a continuation of one particular thing. The same way, if you look at it, like I said with the paint, if you look at us and everything being the paint, and that paint going down, yes, the paint has no direction to where it's going to go, but it's all coming from that one paint, and it's going to get to the bottom of that canvas. Whatever happens in the middle but it's all one thing.
Alan Watts gave us an example of the Big Bang, that it happened in the center of the universe, and it's expanding, right? And they say space is always expanding. So the idea is that things just continue to happen, no matter what's happening, just continue.
And we see that's what I'm used to differentiating. I used to think very much like, I used to always think of it as it's me and everything else. That's how I lived my whole life. And
but I think that's a lonely mindset, though, bro.
No, I'm saying that's how I lived my life, and that's how everyone does. It was me, and that's what the majority of people do. It was me and my personal life, and that was it. Now, I don't see myself I don't see it as my life. I see it as our experience. And we all going through this experience, whatever that means. If that means that I get fucking cancer, that's just part of the experience that needs to happen. When I die, I'm not afraid of what happens next, because it's the same, what Alan Watts actually said, is that I don't remember what it was before birth. I don't remember where and what was happening before birth, and I will not know when I die. And it will just be that next experience of that whole. With that means that whatever, you see what I'm saying? I don't know. No one knows. But it's to realize that, when you know that we're all going as one, you feel like you connect with everything. Because I do. I don't look at the sun and see it as a separation from me. I see it that it's me, and I'm it, and I'm you, and you me. I'm not saying that. But we are living different versions of that experience.
If you do see that, how do you gain knowledge on things?
How do I gain knowledge?
So, for example, now you see everyone as one energy, they're moving together, right?
Yes. So
how do you decide that this is something you don't understand yet?
Because
a certain principle, whatever it may be.
Because we see that's the fundamental. That's like my fundamental, which I'm. See, that's the thing. I'm constantly at peace with it, right? And. Should I just say the question again? Because I kind of.
So, the idea is that basically everyone's together.
Yeah.
Everyone's in one energy, they're moving together. How do you separate yourself from that to say that I need to learn this skill, I need to look at this idea?
Because I see it like this now. See, I usually take, you kind of not take life seriously, but you have a different view on life. You realize that it's you living that experience. See, that experience. That whole thing that's coming from this one point is that continuation, and your part to play is the experience you're having now as Leland, which isn't a real person, but it's not a real thing. It's just a construct, and you're living that construct right now. There will be not there will or there won't, but whatever's next, it's just one. It's a continuational thing. Whether it's already happened, whether it's pre-planned, or whether it's still happening, it's happening from one point. Even from a scientific place. At the core of this table, at the core of you, at the core of me, at the core of this beanie, at the fundamental, if I'm using the term correctly, that's atoms. So that to say that everything at its core is the same means it comes from one place. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that I don't need to what is the need to separate and think that this is just me versus everything? Now I see this as me and everything. I am. That's what the whole point of I am is. I am. That's the whole point of yoga. That's what the yoga community gets to. It's that I am experience, an awakening of, that's what they mean by an awakening. You firstly get in touch with the fact that you separate from your body. So I know that, when my thoughts come up before, have you ever had a thought and then another voice comes up and says, no, don't do that. And your voice but do that.
Yeah, I think that's my moral compass.
You see, that's what I always thought. I thought it was a good and bad. What I later realized is that is one voice playing both roles, and that is what they call the ego. we've taken ego and turned it into what we think, like, oh, that guy's got an ego. But okay, at least they say from a spiritual or from that, what the ego means, that's what an ego death is to say that is that thought, right? Which that's the only thing that makes you unhappy or sad or angry or any of those
It
things.
goes against your gut feeling.
Including happiness. You see, because happiness, the goal in life for me and for anyone that I advise to is not to try strive for happiness, is to try and go for peace, because peace has no opposite, whereas happiness has its opposite.
Of course, peace has its opposite.
I don't think it does. Yes, you can say the yin and yang,
Peace and war.
but again, like I see peace, and this is what I see peace
Do you think someone who is very spiritual in terms of yoga and meditation, they always reach a point? They reach a point where they at complete peace with themselves. There's no conflicting ideas. There's no ego, or not what we think as ego, as what you describe as ego. Or you don't have a constant battle where you.
I feel like I'm there, and I explain why I feel that is because yes, I still have, which I'm aware of, I still have human experience things that I need to I need to get through, and whatever the case may be. But now, why I say peace is because happiness, I can put you in a situation where you're not happy. If you don't know what it is to be at peace and to be at peace, that will take over you as a person, will take over your thoughts, everything. When I used to get angry, used to get happy, now I'm at peace and I'm somewhere I don't want to be. So let's just say I'm at a club. Let's just say I find myself at a club. I'm not happy at the club, but I'm at peace. I'm unhappy, but I'm at peace. Do you see what I'm saying? Peace is at it's the bottom of it.
Is it just enjoying the moment then?
It's not even enjoy. It's just to
or
realize.
being in the
See,
moment.
because what is that happiness? That is it's thought that then goes into a physical.
I think unhappiness is doing something you're not quite happy doing in the moment.
100%. But even happiness, both happiness and happiness work like this. They work on what you perceive, and then that perception, and that what happens is how your body goes, and then the feeling is what happens. You like when you're angry, you're like or when you sad, you're like when you're happy, you're like, you know what I'm saying? And you see how that's
getting what you're saying.
when you're happy, you're not like, oh, I'm so happy, bro. You're like, I'm happy.
Okay.
When you're sad, you're not like, I'm fucking sad. I'm sad.
Okay.
When you're angry,
So how does that idea?
You hear me out. See, so when you realize that you are here, you are the controller of your body and everything within it. So your thoughts are not you. So look at it from here. These are your thoughts. This is the soul. These are your emotions that link with your thoughts. This is the soul. So even if these two things are having their experience, that the perception is, the mind is not enjoying this based on life, and now your body's feeling some type of way. What it is just to say you don't act on it. You let your body feel it. You let your body go through it because that's what your body and your mind is doing. But because you realize and you come to the awakening that you are your soul and you're just letting these experiences happen as because they need to, because you're living the human experience. Doesn't mean you do. So what I mean by that is that if I'm, like before, if I went somewhere I hated, I was always like, fuck, I've got to get out of here. Why am I here? It's such a shithole. And I'd get angry. Now I'm like, look, I don't like what we're doing, but if we're going to do it, let's do it, you know? And, you know what I'm
Take
trying
what
to
you
say?
can from the experience.
Yeah, I'm here now. I'm not necessarily happy with it. I
Yeah.
would be happier being there, but I'm at peace. It's not affecting, it's not getting to me. I'm here. Yes, my body's maybe like for example, I was going to meet up with a friend the one night, and then he told me it was a restaurant. Long story short, it landed up being a restaurant converted into a club. It wasn't too long ago. Now, I went there, I saw this, I was shocked, but I never went there and thought, and like I used to, and people do, oh fuck man, I don't want to be. I went there, I was like, okay. Then I went in, the smell was terrible, the music was terrible, the sights were terrible. So my mind wasn't having a great experience, my body wasn't having a great experience, and I knew that, but I was at peace. I was watching this happen.
What do you do to get to the peace state?
See, now when this happens, this is when I refer to books, because I can try my best, but the book that I refer people to as your beginner's starting point would be The Power of Now. And not, see, like The Power of Now, this is the problem. People always say, I've read The Power of Now. But now The Power of Now is something you put into practice. I've read The Power of Now 4 times, the actual copy. I've listened to the audiobook 3 times. In the car whilst I drive. I have it on, Kindle, I don't know what it's called. I listened to it 3 times, and I've read it 4 times. And I've put, so what it pretty much, you'll see the first exercise, the one exercise is where you focus on your breath. And what it's saying is that, And once or if you follow those exercises enough, you get to the point. And that's the first book. Now, there's many other ones that I could go look in my books, but the one that comes to mind is that one. And the reason I always tell someone read that book is because everyone seems enthusiastic until they read it once and they're like, okay, I've read it, what's next? I'm like, no,
You have to appreciate what's actually
you read it and learn it and understand it. Once you're there, then I'll happily go take time and go look at the books that I have and tell you which one I think you should. Because I read lots of books on this topic.
Yeah.
And that's like, you can read the book for yourself. And it's a guy named, what's his name again? You know The Power of Now, Jay?
Yeah, I'm actually reading it now.
Eckhart Tolle.
I'm reading it now.
That's his name.
It's the best book I've ever
You
read.
always tell me, you always recommend it to me.
And
to
now,
read.
what I'm saying to him is, don't stop at once. Follow the exercises as you do. It's not a headlong read. And then what you do is I'd say, give yourself, obviously do it your way, but what I did, give yourself 2 weeks and you can even, like I read in other books and whatever, based on the same topic, but follow those things. And the things they tells you to do. Go back after 2 weeks, read the book again. With the perception change of reading it the first time. Read it the second time. Go again, maybe this time 3 weeks, maybe a month. And then what I did was I read it the first time, I read the second, then I found the audiobook. Then I listened to it once, I read it again, I listened to it again, I read it, and then now I listen to it one more time. I haven't gone back to that cycle. But the point is, like, it is something that you have, because it's society, bro. It's kind of going back and all that. But
Yeah.
What's it? I think it's been like an hour now.
Yeah, you should.
Wait, compare that book to The Alchemist?
That's
Have you
actually
read The Alchemist?
Mm-mm.
I've read The Alchemist. I've read like 6 of these
That's
books.
next on my list.
The Alchemist is cool, but the thing with The Alchemist is that
How
It's-
else, bro? I was literally thinking the same thing.
the thing with The Alchemist is
Sync.
that it's a story, and it kind of leaves it up to your own perception. So the reason I'd say you read The Alchemist after you've kind of gotten to the point where you think that you're spiritually adequate to have the perception. You feel it. I can't explain it. It's a feeling I can't put into words. But when I got to that point, when I read The Alchemist, I mean, if I think about it now, if I had read The Alchemist with my old mind, before The Power of Now, I would have been like, oh, it's just a cool story, but it's just, whatever. After The Power of Now,
I saw the metaphor.
I started taking all the life lessons from that. After The Power of Now, every book and everything after that, I could see it
Metaphors.
just made sense after that.